All right, so I had to recalibrate my thinking when it comes to one team in particular this past season. For years, I had the same perception of Notre Dame. Cool, they'll go undefeated. They'll go 11-1. They'll make the CFP, or in the case of the BCS, they'll make the BCS National Championship like they did against Alabama back in 2013. And then they'll get blown out by a superior team like an Alabama, or a Clemson, or a Georgia, for that matter. However, that perception got flipped on its head last season as Notre Dame won 3 straight playoff games. 3 straight against Indiana, Georgia, and Penn State, respectively, to reach the national championship, where they lost to Ohio State. But let's face it, Ohio State was a well-oiled machine that, at that time last season, they just simply weren't going to lose to anyone. The main takeaway was how Notre Dame looked in those big games. For years, they looked outmatched, overpowered, flustered. This year, they look like they belonged. They look like they belonged on the same field with every opponent they played with, and that's from a physical standpoint. That's a tangible standpoint. From an intangible standpoint, Notre Dame looked more prepared this year in those big games, those playoff games, than they looked in the past. Under the tutelage of Brian Kelly, and I want to preface this by saying that Brian Kelly did a fantastic job with Notre Dame when he was there. I know he gets shit on a lot, but he did a great job with Notre Dame. I mean, they were consistently a contender under Brian Kelly. But fact of the matter is, when they got to those big games against your Alabamas, against your Clemsons, they melted down. They looked physically outmatched. They looked overwhelmed, and they looked flustered. This year, under the guidance of Marcus Freeman, they looked cool, calm, collected. Most importantly, they looked prepared. And I want to say this. That shift in Notre Dame should be terrifying for the rest of college football. The reason why it's so scary is because Notre Dame has countered its weakness. The Irish's biggest pain point has always been its academic standard. It's hard to be a student and a player for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I mean, you got to maintain a certain GPA, and those classes in the South Bend are hard as hell, challenging as hell. And so it takes a lot of physical but mental grit to be a player at Notre Dame. And for years, that's been a deterrent. You know, players will go to schools where the academic requirements are less, the classes aren't as hard. And that's been a draw for those schools. And it's, in a way, diminished Notre Dame out of the competition compared to what they were in the 80s, per se, and early 90s. But they countered that pain point this past year. And to add another layer of why this is so impressive, NIL makes it harder for everybody to recruit and to retain players and develop players. For everyone. The schools with a lot of money, the schools that don't have a lot of resources, it's hard for everybody. It's a really competitive landscape. So the fact that Notre Dame is differentiating themselves in this way now is insane, because they're setting up a foundation for success down the road. It's hard enough to get guys into Notre Dame because of that academic standard, but their run last year was not a fluke. There's a lot of talented players on that team, and they're loading up on talent for years to come. There's more depth of talent on Notre Dame than a lot of people realize. And so what's the reason for all of this? What's the reason for this shift that we've seen in Notre Dame? I really think it's one man. The one and only Marcus Freeman. Here's what he's done. So, like I just alluded to, recruiting has been a huge point of emphasis at Notre Dame. They've been ascending these past couple of years. They've been aggressive. They've been dominant. They've been among the top of the pack with everybody. I mean, Notre Dame legitimately competes with your top recruiters out there. And yes, Marcus Freeman is a fantastic recruiter himself, and that's brought some talented guys in that building because they believe in him and his vision, what he's bringing to the table. But it's just as important for somebody in Marcus Freeman's position to hire the right people to recruit. And he's done exactly that. And one guy that I want to highlight here is Notre Dame's quarterback coach, Mike Mickens. If you don't know that name, Mike Mickens, know that name. He is one of the top recruiters in the country. He's lured a lot of the big names that you've seen come into Notre Dame these past several years, and he's going to continue to do it. Notre Dame has been doing their thing on the recruiting trail. They've been stacking up talent, and that's the reason why this team is going to sustain success in these years to come. Recruiting has been great, but as you all know, in 2025, you got to do more than recruits. There's more layers to success. There's NIL in the transfer portal. But as we all know, Notre Dame has a bountiful NIL fund. There's no shortage of money in South Bend to finance players. And Notre Dame has been very aggressive in the transfer portal. I mean, that's where they got Sam Hartman. That's where they got Riley Leonard. And so they've been just as aggressive and successful in the transfer portal and using NIL than they've been on the recruiting trail. So pairing both of those strategies, both those mechanisms of the program has been great for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. Just look at Notre Dame's offensive line, their defensive line, their cornerbacks. They've placed a huge emphasis on recruiting those positions. And like we always say on this channel, secondary is important. You want to be able to lock guys down. But you get those trenches right, offensive line, defensive line, you can go very far in the playoffs. And you saw that on Notre Dame last year. What's important about Notre Dame's season last year was that for the first time there was a sense of recognizability for Marcus Freeman. I mean, all of us college football buffs out there knew about Marcus Freeman. We knew about his character type. We knew about how he's wired. We knew about his vision in Notre Dame, his style as a coach. But he was on a national spotlight, on the national stage for the first time ever last year. In the Orange Bowl against Penn State, in the national championship. So what does that mean? More people are getting eyeballs on them. More 4-star and 5-star recruits are taking this program seriously, seeing them win big games, because I was not the only person who had that perception of Notre Dame. They'll win a lot of games, but they'll shit the bed when it means the most. No, they capitalized last year. And when players see that, they're like, okay, I can go to Notre Dame, get an amazing education, build connections with people who are going to have successful careers down the road, and have a chance to make the NFL through their player development, and possibly compete for a national championship or play in that game. That goes a long way. Notre Dame's run goes a long way when it comes to marketing that program. Marcus Freeman got them there, but it's the way that he carries himself, too. I mean, yes, he's media trained, but the guy always says the right thing on the podium, and you can just tell by his cadence and his presence, the kind of leadership style that he has with that team, and that's something that resonates with a lot of people. It resonates with me. I know that when I watch Notre Dame football, and it's going to have the same impacts on recruits, 4-stars, 5-stars, who are legitimately looking for the place where they're going to spend the next 3 or 4 years and develop as a player and a person. And that leads to my next point. At the end of the day, Marcus Freeman is the kind of coach, the kind of man that if you're a parent, you want to send your child off to play football. Because yes, he's going to teach them the value of hard work. He's going to teach them the value of discipline. But most importantly, he's going to teach them to develop as a man and to become a more complete person. and instruct them on how to be successful in life outside of football, beyond the gridiron. And that leads to an exceptional amount of buy-in from not only players, but parents. It's a well-oiled system in Notre Dame right now. They've got recruiting down. They've got NIL down. They've got their transfer portal strategy down. Most importantly, Marcus Freeman is the guy steering the ship. And you can tell how cerebral and how professional he is within those walls of that facility. I've never seen Notre Dame teams look more prepared for big games. I've never seen them communicate better. And I've never seen them want to run through a brick wall more than they have, than they do for Marcus Freeman. And it's incredible. The foundation is in place right now for Notre Dame to not only be successful this year, but to be successful for many years to come. Marcus Freeman has revitalized Notre Dame because they're a huge brand. They've been in the spotlight for years. But this is the first time in my life that I've seen this team get considered as a legitimate contender year in and year out, especially after what they did last year. So let me know what y'all think about this take in the comment section below and what you think of the impact that Marcus Freeman has had on Notre Dame. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.